Hey, this is Sergey coming to you with Hypergrowth Engineering, and today I want to talk with you about building your MVP. Startups make a crucial mistake very early on, and that is not shipping soon enough. One of the phrases that I have ingrained into my memory is Mark Andreessen's, "If you're not embarrassed by your first product, then you've shipped too late." And let that sink in for a second. If you're not embarrassed by the first product that you release to your customers, it's too late. It's not that you're ashamed and completely horrified by that product. No, just embarrassed. It does the job, but just barely. Now, the danger of waiting to sell your product, of not bearing down your product down to the bare MVP, is multiple fold. If you wait to try to sell your product to customers, you are going to get into the cycle of trying to add one more feature, add one more feature, add one more feature, and never know when enough is enough. You'll never figure out that the product is good enough as it is. You'll never have the focus of this value prop is enough. You'll never actually go deep into fulfilling what the customer wants because you will be spread thin trying to meet every single little want that the customer has. There's no priority going on there. It's not a directed effort to solve a customer's pain point. It's a slathering the butter all over the bread, trying to fill all the holes, fill all the gaps when there is just too much bread to cover and not enough butter to cover it with. The other bit is if you keep on developing features and keep on adding more and more and more without feedback from your customer, you're developing into a void. You're expending effort without actually learning. So when you develop more features without sanity checking with your customer, without trying to sell to your customer, without learning from your customer, without getting feedback, the feedback loop never closes and you're never able to learn from the experiences. You're never able to learn from the effort that you put into building the product, the effort that you put into figuring out what features need to get there. If you never close the loop with your customers, that effort is scattered in every direction instead of being directed to solve a single customer problem. So what happens when you scatter your efforts? With every single additional feature that you build, with every additional piece of work, you make it harder to develop and add more to the product later. Startup founders can actually get into this kind of rut where they don't want to ship something before it's completely ready, before they are 110% sure that that product that they developed is going to meet their customers' needs. This is a problem, and it's one that I've seen experienced in previous startups that I've been with, where we wanted to really make the product everything that the customer asked for before actually selling it to them. So we had a whole list of features, feature by feature by feature by feature, a whole complete requirements specification. And we were not willing to sell the product to the customer before all of those requirements on that specification were complete. Now, what might be wrong with that? You might ask. Maybe the customer really does need all of those things. It's possible, but highly unlikely. Because if you are targeting as a startup a niche market, a niche problem, something that is a pain point for your customer, then they may be willing to pay you for a very small chunk of functionality, which may provide them with a lot of value. In fact, they may be willing to pilot your software. They may be able to try it out and see incremental improvements in their life by just using that part of your product that you thought was too small, that you thought was too narrow. And it's risky, it's vulnerable to go out there and say, hey, we have this awesome product, it provides this functionality, and maybe there's not a whole lot of features there, but it provides this functionality and we think it could be useful for you. Would you want that? If the customer says yes, what might be going through your head is, they're crazy. I can't believe it. Holy crap, like they actually want that. They want that narrow piece of functionality and they're willing to pay for it. Wow, there's a perspective shift where instead of going for trying to give them the moon, give them the whole shebang, give them all the requirements that you could think of, that you imagine a fully featured product needs to have in order to be purchased. If you're not an early adopter in space, if you're early majority or late majority, then on that curve of customers from the early adopters all the way to the laggards, if you're in the early majority to the laggards, you're probably not looking for a narrow scope of functionality. You're not the early adopter. And with that first iteration of product that you're selling, you are looking for the early adopters. You're looking for the innovators, the folks who are having that specific problem, and that is a major pain point for them that you solve, and you help them by selling them your product. So instead of trying to build the whole product all at once, we're looking to focus on the MVP, the minimum viable product. What does that mean? That means the minimum set of functionality that is viable to sell to someone as a product. Minimum viable product. It feels risky to sell just a minimum viable product, but the worst thing you can hear is no. You can make an offer and it may be refused. And that's fine. But what you get out of those conversations is more important. You may get more information about your customer. You may find out more about what they are looking for in a product like yours. You may find out different threads of problems that your potential customers may be having that you may explore, and you can get feedback on what is the next incremental piece of value that we can add to make this product saleable. That information helps filter back down to product, back to engineering, so that you can build that next feature that's going to provide the next incremental piece of value that is going to be enough for the customer to buy. Let's highlight here the macro processes at play. Initially, we were talking about sales, about the selling function, talking with the customer and eliciting, are they willing to buy? Is that product enough? What is the additional value that the customer needs in order to buy? Perhaps they can get a commitment around, hey, if we add this additional functionality, will you buy? Yes, awesome. That information comes back from the sales function back to product and engineering. You can share that with the team to spread that knowledge, to find the feature that fulfills that value need that the customer expressed. What is the additional functionality that will fulfill that feature? When the sales function feeds back information to product around what is the customer looking for, and product iterates on features that will fulfill that requirement, and engineering builds that, then the feedback comes back around because the product gets deployed and sales can demo that product to the customer, get more feedback, come back to product, goes to engineering, and the cycle continues. It's a virtuous feedback loop. So that is why we strive for MVPs, for minimum viable products. It's uncomfortable and it can be difficult, but it is a key way of making sure that your startup makes maximal use of its resources, makes maximal use of its people in order to deliver a product that your customers are looking for and want to buy. So I hope that you found this information useful, and thank you for listening. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Appreciate you. Peace out.